Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today I'm at Land Rover of Shreveport and this is the 2022 Land Rover Discovery. This is the R Dynamic HSE. And there are 4 different trim levels to choose from and 10 exterior colors. This is the Yulong white exterior color on this particular model. I like the black accent with all the trim. You've got the tinted windows, especially there in the rear for the passengers. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what this model is. It has not always been known as the Discovery. In fact, in 2004, it became known as the LR4, and then a few years later, it became known as the LR5 until the 2017 model year when it went back to being the Land Rover Discovery. So let's just walk around here a little bit looking at the front end. Since we're shooting here in the showroom, I can't turn the lights on because the ignition has to be on to do that, but we'll just take a quick look at the overall design here. It does have a very sleek look. This is probably the most rounded version of any Land Rover you're going to find. And no, that's not a knock on the model itself. It actually gives it a really nice and sporty look. An interesting thing here, I see that Carrie's coming in here on this area right here. What you see right here is actually part of the cooling system, the radiator. You can see it right through here and right through here as well. But the overall design here looking very nice. Of course, you're going to have the fog lights down here. You've got the black trim on the lower portion of the bumper here. A very nice look, very elegant. Kind of a lower grille here split into 2 different areas. You've got the larger area right here, and I like the fact that it does kind of come out just a little bit. You have to look at it from just the right angle. You can't see it this way, and I won't ask Carrie to look at it, but I just like how everything just kind of flows down. Again, that nice rounded, somewhat of an aerodynamic look. Discovery, of course, right here on the front in raised lettering. Perfect color for this Yulong white exterior color. Now, a lot of people will ask, if I don't talk about it, does it have turn signal indicators built into the side view mirrors? Obviously, you can see that it does right here, but I can demonstrate those as I hit the button. You'll see also those are power folding side view mirrors as well. That is a camera underneath there. You do have the Pivi Pro infotainment system that debuted in the Discovery for the 2021 model year, but you also have all the different features and functionality of that system, including the surround view camera, one of the really best in the industry. We'll take a look at that system in just a little while. And you might be wondering about the size of the rims. Those are some pretty big rims. We haven't seen any this big in a while on one of my videos. 22-inch rims. I do like the way that looks. And again, seeing all the trim here on the lower portion of the body, you've got that black right there. Here as well, and if you're wondering, is this functional? That's purely cosmetic. You have the Discovery written right here into the side of the body. If it was me, you know what I would do? I would want to have that actually done with black insert right there, kind of maybe some vinyl or something like that, just to kind of make it stand out a little bit. But in case you're wondering, I know a lot of people do, is that functional or not? No, it isn't. And we'll just continue working our way around here on the vehicle. Of course, let me show you the remote real quick while we're at it. No changes for 2022 from 2021, but you do have a good sturdy remote right there, just so you can see everything. And let me hold that the right way there so you can see it. Just wanted to see if you wanted to turn your head upside down to read that properly. And right here, as you look at the roof, of course, you've got that nice roof line. You might wonder about the raised area right here. I'm pretty sure that is for the rear sunroof, and that's where the rear shade is housed for that sunroof. And just working our way around here to the rear, of course, very nice blending of the rear tail lights here. Again, Discovery right here in raised lettering. And as you can see, this is the P360, making that pretty clear. Depending on what your personal preference is, though, you do have a couple of different options for what's under the hood. Let's pop the hood on this model and we'll talk about exactly what that is. Let's talk a little bit about what you can expect depending on which engine option you choose. There is the turbocharged 4-cylinder that makes 295 horsepower, or as we have here, the turbocharged 6-cylinder that makes 355 horsepower. And in the case of this particular engine combination, Land Rover says the gas mileage should be 18 miles per gallon city, 24 out on the highway, a combined total of 21 miles per gallon. and per every 100 miles you drive, you should burn 4.8 gallons of gas. And across the board on every single Land Rover Discovery, no matter what trim level you choose or engine combination, it is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and they all come all-wheel drive. Okay, let's start taking a look at the interior. And we had to move outside because the battery was dead. We needed to let the vehicle run. So let's talk a little bit about what you have here. Obviously, you've got the power tailgate. Make that pretty obvious. Here's something else that's interesting right here. A lot of owners of these vehicles don't really know exactly what this is, how to use it, or what you can do with it ultimately. So here's the thing. Over here, we've got a whole bunch of switches, and I'm going to let Kerry show you that. In fact, I'll let him stay right there, and then I'll come over here. Let's see if I can do this. So this is the button you use right here. So I'll have Kerry back up, and I'm going to show you what happens here. This is how you use the split tailgate. So I hit that button, and you're going to see this area of the floor folds down. Now, one of the other interesting things is the fact that over here you also have the ability to raise and lower the suspension on the vehicle. So here's the advantage to that. This can be used as, well, kind of the ultimate multitasker of this vehicle. So what I'm going to do is actually take the vehicle, we're going to lower it all the way down, kind of let you see that in real time. It's the advantage of having Kerry on the camera. I've never been able to do this like this before. We always had to have a B-roll. So that's as far down as it goes right there. And we'll show you raising back up shortly. But let me have Kerry come back here again. Here's what you can do. At this height, now keep in mind, I'm 5'10", and I still wanted to lower this down. You can have 2 people sit on here, and the split tailgate here can easily support 2 people. Tailgating, well, whatever you want to do back here. If you want to take a rest when you're out having fun with your all-wheel drive Discovery, you can go skiing in the mountains, all kinds of things like that. But here's something else, and we'll show you raising back up, because there are so many different options here, but one of those you would want to raise this up, well, depending on your height. But let's raise it all the way up. Now, I don't have anything to set on here, but here's the thing. Now you can see how high this is. It's actually above my hip just a little bit. This is the great picnic table now. So you could use that, put your drinks on, your food, whatever you want right there. That's awesome. And there is one more thing that you can do with this, but in order to show that, I need to show what you can do with these rear seats. So let's talk a little bit about, well, first, towing. Depending on the engine combination that you have, the towing numbers range between 6,613 pounds all the way up to 8,200 pounds. All right, let's talk about cargo capacity. 9.1 is the minimum, all the way up to, if you lower all of the seats here, 74.3 cubic feet. So that's quite a bit. And what we'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and lower these seats here. And the cool thing about it, notice what's happening there? I'm not holding the buttons down. So there is a benefit right there. So these seats can go down. If you want to use more space, we've also got the seats in the middle as well. I'm going to lower those real quick. Lowers the headrests first. Let's see here. You actually do have to hold those down. I'm going to lower those all the way down. That's how you're going to get all the way up to that 74.3 cubic feet of cargo space. Now, here's what I wanted to show you. If you have something here and you're saying, well, I want it to make sure it doesn't hit the back doors. You've got the plastic right here on this rear tailgate. So here's the advantage of the split tailgate. That will actually keep everything in place right there. That is a great feature. And of course, you can raise your seats back up. That's easy to do. No big deal. Let me pull the buttons right there. We'll just let you see everything coming up. On those middle row seats, you have to hold the buttons down for the seats to go down, but you don't have to hold anything down for them to come back up. So why don't we hop into the middle row seats and take a look at exactly what's going on there. Time for a real world middle row seat test. Here I am. You can see at 5'10", I've got a decent amount of space, maybe an inch and a half, an inch or so above my head. So that kind of gives you an idea. The front seat is pretty far back, so I still have plenty of room. I'm not completely stretched all the way out, but my legs are comfortable where they are. I think I could ride like this for a while. And the cool thing is that on the side of the seat, you can push a button and recline the seats a little bit. It's not a lot, but there is a button down there to do that. Okay, and also here on the top, let me push this button right here. Here's how you're going to access the back seats. The interesting thing here is that you have a manual release to actually move the seat forward. It's kind of hard to do from that angle. Now you're going to notice it's pretty narrow back here. This is really meant for the kids to sit back here, not the adults. That's more for where we are right now. But just so you can kind of see what's back there, I'm not going to actually hop back there myself. But you do have a separate sunroof. It's not really a panoramic, but there is a rear sunroof back here that actually provides a pretty decent amount of space for your rear seat passengers to enjoy maybe some stargazing or something like that. But the thing I like about that is that whether it's the rear or the front sunroof up here, neither is a conventional size. That is actually a very large sunroof. Not what I would necessarily call a full panoramic, because you have quite a separation right here. Let me move the seat back up here. It's a little bit interesting to reach your hand up there and actually move that. It just is what it is. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here on the rear of the console. You've got the dual air conditioning vents. This is quad zone climate control, by the way. So if you want to use that feature, you can. You've got heated and ventilated seats back here. You're going to be able to adjust the temperature. You can adjust the fan speed, and it depends on what you want to do. I'm adjusting the fan speed right here by pulling back on that knob, and if you push forward, then you can adjust the temperature of the seat depending on if you have heated and or cooled on. And you've got all your connectivity down here, USB ports, 2 of those, and then 2 additional 12-volt power outlets. And of course, you can always buy the adapters to turn those into USBs as well, and then you can have 4 back here if somebody needed that. Got the map pockets on the back of the seats, and I'll have Carrie show you the door bins over there. There's actually a decent amount of space for a large bottle. You know, maybe you got a protein shaker for your protein powder after your workouts, your protein shake, all that good stuff if you want to use that. And of course, air conditioning vents right here. I hope we can get a good view of that. Everybody has air conditioning vents, kind of their own vent. You got the controls here for the lights here, for your map lights, your reading lights. But I think the main area of interest is where we're going to head next, to the front seat. Let's hop up there and take a look. One more thing I wanted to show is you do have the indicator here on the doors to let you know, or your passengers know, this is actually on all 4 doors, to look and make sure there's nobody coming, no cars coming, so you don't open the door into traffic or anything like that. What a disaster that would be. All right, you've got quite a bit of space, and there's a lot of interesting storage spaces throughout here. Carrie's showing you the door bin over there that's a lot larger on the front door than it is here on the in the rear. But here's something interesting. Of course, you're going to have the conventional location of the glove box, the lower glove box, but that's because there is also here on the top the upper glove box. So you've got space up there as well. So a lot of storage space throughout this model. And just taking a look here at the seats, you've got the contrast stitching, nice little look there. Not quite a pillow headrest, but it is nice and soft up here on the headrest itself. And what I'm going to do is have Carrie go ahead and hop in. I want to show you something very interesting real quick about how everything works here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the rear shade. Here's what's interesting is that to open this shade here in the front, it goes the direction you would expect. You push it back. To open the rear shade, you actually push this way instead of this way. So it actually corresponds with the direction that everything goes. But just so you know, that's what you have. And just a quick look here at the steering wheel. Again, nothing new here. You've got the steering wheel paddle shifters here that are actually very nice. That is not a plastic material. All the materials throughout the interior here, very well made, very high end. They're going to last for as many years as you own your Discovery. Everything pretty simple to figure out here. Now, for those of you who have never been able to afford this option on your vehicle, I want to give a public service announcement right here on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You're going to not only control the functionality for the headlights there, the front fog lights, and even the rear fog lights. There are rear fog lights on this model. Watch what happens when I push that into the up position. See that green arrow right there that's blinking? And then when I push it into the down position, you got the arrow on the left. That indicates that you are changing lanes to the left or to the right, or turning to the left or to the right, and you push this either down or up depending on which direction that goes, that lets people around you know what you're doing. I know that's a novel idea. I know not everybody can afford that option on their vehicles, but in case you've ever wondered about that, that's the turn signal lever. Kind of a multitasker of sorts, because you can control the headlights and all the lighting functionality on the exterior of the vehicle, but you can also be kind to the drivers on the road around you and let them know what you're doing. Then over here, can't say anything sarcastic about the functionality for the windshield wipers, but there it is nonetheless. And push button start, but here's something that debuted for the 2020 model year, the Pivi Pro infotainment system. Very easy to use, very easy to learn, but it just gives you so many different options on what you can do here. Okay, now that we are looking at some of the features that we have here, real quick, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the Discovery in reverse. So there you go. You can see your cameras right there that you have. We'll go to the off-road view, which really ain't gonna do us any good today, but it shows you what the vehicle is doing right here. There's a specific reason for all that we can't really show today. I'll go back to on-road, but there's a reason why I wanted to show that. So here's the interesting thing. I'm gonna go home. You don't have to be in reverse to do this, because you have a cameras option right here. And as you can see, this is the 360-degree view camera. I really like this. One of my absolute favorite features of this vehicle. It shows you everything around you from any view you might want to see. And the cool thing is, you might say, oh, well, I want to see a little bit closer. You can zoom in. Let's see if I can get that to work, and look a little closer from every angle just to see what's around you. Very easy to do, very easy to manage. I really like that a lot. Now, if you want to know your vehicle dimensions, you're thinking about, well, I'm wondering what exactly all the dimensions are on my Discovery. Well, there you go, right there. It tells you everything, and there are a lot of benefits to that. One thing about this vehicle and any Land Rover model is they're made for off-roading, more so than any of their competitors. That's what really separates these out from others. But here's a big advantage to the off-road system of this vehicle, the all-wheel drive system, I should say. It's not just helpful in an off-roading situation, because what happens if one tire spins? The system will sense that, and it takes power completely away from that particular wheel and sends it to the other three that are getting traction. That helps to maintain control of the vehicle. It's really good for driving on snow and ice and things like that, whether it's rain or whatever the case may be. And so I don't want to go through everything here on the screen, but just so you can see what's here. I'll have Carrie come over and show you the dashboard, just a little bit of a better view of that compared to what we had during our sarcasm earlier about the blinkers. Now, if you live in Northwest Louisiana, I do suggest you use those. For those of you that don't, all 99,000 of you or whatever the number is, compared to the 1,000 of us that do. Yeah, I'm a little sarcastic about that kind of thing. Like I said, you've got 4-zone climate control here. So dual zone in the front, dual zone in the rear. Here's all the same controls and functionality here. So notice right there, if you want to change the fan speed, you're just going to do that right there. And then if you want to change the temperature depending on what you have on with the seats, whether it's heated or ventilated, that's where you do that right there. And you can conceal away your cup holders if you want to, or you can open that back up. Decent sized cup holders right there. And of course, you do have multiple driving modes. And what's interesting here, this is your drive mode selector, and depending on your situation, well, you can select between all of the different modes, or you can push this knob down and the vehicle will select for you depending on what it needs to do. And of course, right here, and one other little thing here, like I said, there's a lot of interesting nooks and crannies and spaces here. Well, there's another right there, and that's pretty deep inside there too. I don't know if you can see how far down in there my arm goes, trying to give a good demonstration of that. But there it is. And then of course, what about the interior of the console? That's not all you have, but just so you can see right there, pretty deep console as well. Now, this isn't the refrigerated console, just so you know, but, and then of course a couple of USB ports right here also. And that's a quick tour of the 2022 Land Rover Discovery. Got to say a special thanks to my friends here at Land Rover of Shreveport for loaning me this model for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another of the videos that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.